Hi and welcome to the Catching Up Podcast, your show about speedrunnings and the runners themselves. I'm Sen Knight, your host, and today we have the chance to have Pit01 with us, a speedrunner all about full-blown energy and contagious passion. Join me as we discover more about the woman behind the speed. Hi and welcome to the Catching Up Podcast. I am your host, Sen Knight, and today I have the chance to have Pit01 with me today. Thank you very much for answering the call.
Hi there.
So let's start as I usually do, asking always the same question. How did you discover gaming? Was that when you were a child?
Yeah, actually, before I was born, my parents were both really into video games.
Oh, cool.
My mother, actually, when she was in high school, she spent all her lunch breaks playing in arcades.
Okay,
And
yeah.
my dad, on the other hand, had like a bunch of the second-gen consoles. So, they were both already kind of into it. And I'm the oldest in my family, so I would always play like Dr. Mario on my dad's Game Boy when I was like in preschool. And my mom really, really wanted to get me a Super Nintendo for Christmas when I was 5. So that kind of Super Nintendo is my favorite console, so that's like kind of when it really started, I would say. But it's kind of been like a mainstay in my entire life ever since I was born, just because of the kind of parents that I had.
Yeah, exactly. Having two gamer parents had to make it easier, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so your first real console that you own is a Super Nintendo. What's the game you got with it?
Oh, with it, I got 4. I think those games were SMW, Mario All-Stars, Mario Kart, which I actually speedrun, and Star Fox.
Wow, that's still a good selection.
Oh yeah, I love all of those games.
All right. And so I know you are especially known for Super Mario RPG. Do you have like a connection with all the other RPG, or is it all only Super Mario RPG that you really enjoy?
Well, SMRPG is my favorite game of all time. I got it. Like when it came out, I think for my 7th birthday, because it was a couple years after I got the Super Nintendo. Yeah. Just because it wasn't released until 1996. But that is my favorite game. It was also my first RPG. I've played a lot of other RPGs since then. A lot of that is because my best friend is super into RPGs, so I never really got to play that many of them growing up. So I'm kind of playing through all of them now. Like I just finished FF9 for the first time yesterday.
Okay.
So I do really enjoy RPGs, but I didn't really grow up with them. Just the one.
Okay, exactly, makes sense. I saw actually you tweeted about Lufia 2, which is really like a game I enjoy very much. So did you do it like recently?
I did. That was the game I beat just before I started FF9.
All right. Yeah, I'm a big RPG fan too, but differently from you, I just grew up with all of them. I just could not get enough. Yeah, I really enjoyed. But Mario RPG was a special one for me too. Music, the presentation, even the combat system, the time I really enjoyed. And I don't know what was with that game, but it was so well made with so much love. Yeah, that's a very good RPG, even though it came from a series that was known for everything else.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about SMRPG is that it's kind of a hybrid game. Like it's a turn-based RPG, but it works in like a whole bunch of other stuff. Like it's half RPG, half platformer. There's like all the platforming you have to do on the overworld, and some of the parts of the speedrun, like Booster's Tower, Barrel Volcano, are super interesting because of that. It's like really cool to watch and see how you kind of optimize those platforming areas. And also, I like to joke that it's also it's an RPG, a platformer, and a rhythm game because you have to do like about 1,000 super jumps over the course of the speedrun.
yeah. This depending on the category, you do have to get the hero shirt, which required 100. I know I've done it when I was a kid, but I could do it during the whole course of the game. Like I only had to do it once, but I know it gets crazy hard to get the. How long does it take for it to become the most precise, and how precise it is when it's on the end?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't really understand.
The super jump, I know that it gets progressively harder, if I remember correctly.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of precise during the last bit, right?
Not quite. It's like it reaches a point of consistency after the 13th jump. And after that it doesn't change.
Okay.
So what actually happens with super jumps is that the first one that you land has a 60 frame input window, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get it as long as you press a button. But then the frame window gets smaller and smaller. But when I say that, I mean that the start of the frame window that accepts another input gets later and later, but the end of the input window stays at a constant rhythm.
Yeah.
So after the 13th jump, the start of the frame window is reduced to 3 frames before the end of it, and it just stays like that for the rest of super jumps. The timing between jumps doesn't actually change. It's just like the opening of the frame window just gets later and later as you go along until you hit 13, and then it just stops and stays constant at that point.
But yeah, no, move on. Go on.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say overall, I think like I don't remember the exact math, but it's like 100 super jumps at about 45 frames each.
Okay.
So it takes like about a little less than a minute and a half to do 100, I think.
Yeah, but the problem is if it is a 3-frame window to get all of them, I know it's a question of rhythm and you just get the hang of it, but it's still kind of impressive. It's kind of hard, right?
Oh yeah, it takes lots of practice to be able to do it consistently, but I hear a lot of people tell me that like they would really like to pick up that game, but they're afraid of the super jump, and I always say one of two things. I say, well, you can try the no super suit route if you want. There is one, it's about 20 minutes slower, but if you want to get super competitive at the game, super jumps are not actually hard to do. Like, they're hard to learn, but they're not hard to do. I had to do it in front of 10,000 people at RPG Limit Break, and I got it first try. Like, it's not that difficult. Like, it's like, the only real difficult part about super jumping after you've done a lot of practice is just not letting your nerves get the better of you. Yeah. Because once you get like hyper focused on like, oh my god, I just hit 80, oh my god, I'm gonna drop, it's like as soon as you get that idea in your head that you're gonna drop it, you're gonna drop it. You just it's a mental training thing to just not think that, just stay focused, just keep it in your muscle memory, just practice a lot and you'll get it, because like the speedrun's not actually that scary with super jumps unless you're like really trying hard to PB, because you only have to do 100 super jumps once to get the super suit. After that, you can drop them, it doesn't matter, just pick up where you left off and keep going on your next turn when you're trying to use them to kill a boss like Earthlink in the factory. But my point is that you have to get 100 super jumps once, but you have infinite tries to get it. It doesn't actually matter when you get it, as long as you get it before you leave Monster Town. Exactly, so in my first run of the game, I actually left Monster Town and went to go do it on a Goomba.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then
instead of doing it going, oh, yeah.
But also in that speedrun, you gotta be really, really careful with your EXP. So I did it on a Goomba, and then I ran away from the fight. So then I went back to Monster Town, picked up my super suit, and I was good to go. So, and I don't actually really recommend that strat, because like generally the backup strat, if you don't get it on Johnny or Belome, is to go to Monster Town where Jinx's dojo is and fight Jagger the Terrapin. Because here's what's interesting about Jagger: he's immune to jump. So you can use as many jump attacks on him as you want, and he will not take any damage. But if you do 0 damage, the super jumps still count towards the super suit. You can try it as many times as you want, and then once you run out of flower points or super jumps, you just run away from the battle, talk to him again, and you're automatically healed. So you just keep going until you get it. It's like, you can, if you've done 100 super jumps before, you can complete a run. It might take you a while if you're getting inside your head, but you can complete a run. Your run will not die if you can't super jump. Just keep going until you get it.
And that's really cool, because you do have the perfect setup for practice, like, considering he's immune, so the battle will never end unless you make it to. And then if you just have a problem, you can leave the battle, heal, and then come back again.
That's really pretty much that. It's so I totally went off on a tangent there, but that's like, I always, if in case anyone's listening who's really interested in speedrun but they're afraid of super jumps, just remember that, because it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not actually as scary as it looks like.
Well, like I said, I've done it when I was a child, so it's really feasible. It's not necessarily a problem, but I do remember getting stressed, like you said, getting into 80s, like you were like, oh, am I gonna get it? And then just thinking about it would break your rhythm, and then you would lose it. I remember having a little bit of frustration, but I did end up having it, so it's not impossible. It's just maybe, like you said, more stressful than it is actually hard, but I remembered it being stressful.
That's what it is. It's hard in the fact that it's stressful on you mentally. The execution itself is not actually that bad. Like I think I got 100 my first time ever after a couple hours of just practicing, because I'd never done it in my life. I think everyone kind of has their own different methods of de-stressing, but like when I'm doing it for a marathon or something and I'm about to go to super jump, if I feel myself getting like a little twinge of nervousness, I just remind myself, okay, Pidge, you've done this in 22 marathons. You've never had a run die to this before, and you're not going to die to this now. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, Pidge, you're right. Yeah, okay, I think we're going to be fine.
So you got Mario RPG when you were like 7. Were you a competitive girl at that point?
At 7 years old, no, I wasn't competitive at anything.
No, but I'm not talking about competitive in the sense of wanting to compete against other. Did you just have competitive attitude? Were you trying to beat the game fast? Were you trying to show off to other friends like I can do it, can do this real fast, really easy, or something?
Oh, no, no. I've never really been competitive with anything until I was in my 20s and I found competitive Smash Bros. Before that, I was just super casual all the time.
That's
Like,
all
I
right.
knew everything there was to know about SMRPGs just because I played the hell out of it, but I wasn't like super competitive about the game or anything.
Yeah. Okay, so we can talk about that then, and I know it will be a fun discussion. People who follow the podcast knows that I am a really Smash geek. I really like my Smash Brothers, and you seems to be on the competitive scene a little bit, like you've been helping people, right?
I've been around the block a couple times in that community. I can at least say that much.
Yeah.
I got into it at the start of 2011, so it's almost 8 years ago now. Back in those days was like when Brawl was the big thing, but
Yeah.
because the Smash scene was so small, like where I live in Toronto, like the Brawl community and the Melee community were super tight with each other. So a lot of my friends to this day are Melee players just because of that.
Yeah.
Like Melee players and Brawl players would go to each other's tournaments just because like we needed the numbers and everyone knew everyone. It was fun. Um, and that's kind of like how I got started in it. And then I don't know, I was just like kind of playing in tournaments for a couple of years. Just like I wasn't super serious about it. Like I was okay at the game. I wasn't
Okay.
like amazing or anything, but you know, I could take a couple of games here and there. I really enjoyed teams. I played all mid tiers, you know. But then
Okay.
like I kind of realized like at the start of 2014, I thought, okay, so here in Toronto, we have a tournament scene for Brawl, a tournament scene for Melee, and a tournament scene for Project M. Why do we not have one for Smash 64? I think those
Yeah.
guys deserve to have monthly tournaments as well. And then I also thought, well, I can't just sit here and say I think it would be cool if someone hosted a Smash 64 tournament. If I want something done, I need to do it myself. So I did just that. I started running 64 tournaments every month, and because people in Toronto were just so happy that someone was actually running tournaments for their game that like I started hanging out with them more, and then I got a lot better at the game just because of our like nightly sessions that we'd have with my friends who would come over to my house. And so I got like I was never amazing at 64. Like
Okay.
I used to be ranked in my region. I was like 8th for one season before I retired.
Wow.
I won the tournament at SGDQ 2018, but it's like um that was actually really fun. I played Punkation in grand finals. He's like super good at 64. I was surprised. Just because like you don't like usually if like a speedrunner also plays Smash on the side, like you tend to like hear a lot about it, but usually that's if like they play Melee or something. I had no idea Punkation plays Smash 64, but like our games are super close and he was really fun to play against. Um so yeah, that was kind of where I was at with that game. But around that time, like Smash 64 never really had a tournament scene anywhere before that. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted to play Smash 64 in a real life tournament, you went to either Apex or Zenith, were the two events a year that you went to for Smash 64 if you lived in North America.
Yeah.
So we decided to break the mold a little bit and have monthly tournaments in Toronto, and that started getting attention from people who lived in other cities. Like the Ottawa guys would come to our tournaments every month. Bless their hearts, they're awesome. They supported like every single one of our events, and they had to drive 4 hours each way to get there.
Yeah.
They're like, I will forever get shout outs to Revan and Sexasy and all that crew. Like they're great. I fucking love them. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to swear or not, but like that's
Oh,
just how
it's
much I
not
love those guys.
PG-13. That's all right.
But yeah, at the same time that was happening in Toronto, like in Baltimore they were doing the same thing, and in SoCal they were doing the same thing. So kind of like a lot of other regions kind of looked into what each of us was doing. They're like, hey, why can't we have that? And then 64 just kind of blew up everywhere thanks to like the hard work of like Shears and Soto and Wookie and like Capos and all the guys in the 64 scene. That when they started like really getting good production value, having like dedicated streamers, having TOs for every event, I was just like, you guys are good. You don't need my help anymore. I'm free to retire.
But that's cool. You just started all that. Like, the scene was already there, but just transforming the formula and making it like your own. But then everyone wants to copy it because it works. Like, people are really hyped for this. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really great. Like 64 is doing amazingly well now. So now that like I don't really do a lot with 64 anymore, but whenever like there's a major that I go to, I always make sure to spend some time with them because, you know, they're all my family. If they need a pool captain, I will be a pool captain, and they will not like, it's like, y'all thought you were free in my tyranny? I'm sorry, but like it just has to be this way. So what I actually do now is I help out more with the Brawl community because it's a little smaller than 64, and it's mostly people just playing net play, kind of like 64 was back in 2013.
Yes.
When Smash Bros. Brawl gets into a major, usually that's Get on My Level here in Toronto or Super Smash Con in MDVA.
Yeah.
And in 2017, we also had CEO Dreamland in Orlando. Whenever a large event adds Brawl to its roster, or they're considering adding Brawl to its roster, either me or somebody else from the Brawl Discord will reach out to them and be like, hey, if you want to consider adding this game to your roster, we'll take care of it for you, so you don't have to worry about the logistical nightmare that is adding another Smash game to your tournament.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've been doing since then, because I have a pretty good track record with like running Brawl tournaments. I tend to experiment with rule sets a little bit, which hasn't had the greatest results, but like I still like listen to the community and try to make the changes that they want and stuff like that. But I also make sure that we get taken seriously. I am really on everyone's case about playing their matches on time so that the stream looks professional, doesn't have any like big gaps or anything.
Yeah.
The Brawl guys know like if there's any kind of dispute, they can just come to me and I'll take care of it, because like that is the game I'm focused on. I'm there to help them. I'm not distracted by having to run other games as well. So I don't know. I just kind of do whatever I can to help that scene out, because they don't really have as many people over there. And the Brawl guys are super cool too. They're the other side of my family. Because that game kind of like probably not the right word to use, but like quote unquote died off when Smash 4 came out. But there's like a dedicated fan base still for Brawl that like just plays Brawl. Like it's their main game.
Yeah.
And the net play Discord for Brawl is actually like super active, and they've got like ladders going on in there and everything. It's really cool. I'm actually the owner of that Discord, but like I'm not in there that much, so you know, we have an admin team.
I get that.
So I just like, you guys are doing a good thing. Like you're working hard for your passion. You're just playing the game you want, and you should be allowed to play the game you want. So I just try to help out whatever community like has the least manpower, I guess.
Yeah.
And right now that's Brawl. And it's doing good.
Right now that's Brawl considering Smash, but you are also, and I don't know how much you are involved, but you seem to be helping anybody who wants to. Like, you have experience, so you want to share it, and right now you are you helping a little bit about Free Enterprise, Final Fantasy IV?
Oh, sort of. I really just made like a couple trackers. Well, not trackers.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I made one tracker. I made a shop tracker, just because somebody, I think it was Simbu, mentioned in the Free Enterprise Discord one day something about like it would be like useful possibly to have like a tracker where you just write down what item you found and what shop you found it in.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, actually that's a really good idea, because there are shop trackers, but I never really thought about like building a shop tracker framed around using as little input as possible, like
exactly.
That's just focused on the shops. So I built something that's like, it's got a text box that comes up, it autofocuses on the text box, and you start typing the name of an item, and as you type, it shows all the items that match. And when it gets down to one match, as soon as you take your hand off the keyboard, it just like checks it off automatically, and you can click on which town you found it in.
Yeah.
And then it just generates a new row after that immediately. So it's just like demanding as little letters from you as possible, and all you gotta do is click on an icon to say what town you found it in, and it just gives you like a really compact, concise list of what you found and where, and you can rearrange it as you like. You can order stuff however you want to be easier to find. That was just kind of like a fun little project. I actually use it in my runs all the time now, because I always forget where I find silk webs. I can't remember where I find hourglass 3s or coffins, or like the pass. Even if I find it in the early game, I gotta go fight Zero Miss at the pass. I don't want to go through the friggin' moon that takes forever.
But I get that. I am the same. I always forget, especially if I play like 2 seeds on the same day, and I'm like, was it on that game or the game before? I can't seem to remember. Like, I'm pretty sure Sirens were in Troya, but is it now or the game before? So yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah. So building a tracker like that actually really helped myself out. And then I posted it in the Discord, and they actually put it in like the official tracker list, which was cool.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks. The other thing that I made was a grind calculator.
Yeah.
Actually, this was funny because both me and Supremacy were working on one at the same time. So we
without talking to each other.
Yeah, well, so we each made a grind calculator on the same day, but we realized that like ours both had some different features on them, so they're both just kind of cool. And then from that, we started talking with Simbu, and now like we have a dev team for a companion app that's gonna have like all this tracker stuff in it. Because for some people, it's easier to just do it on their phone than do it on their computer while they're playing the game. Because like your phone's just sitting right on your leg, and you can use your thumb instead of like having to turn your chair around and start typing stuff and keep track of all your tabs and whatever. So that's kind of like a project that's kind of on the side for me right now, just because I have a billion and one things to do. But yeah, the calculator that I made was pretty cool because it's like you can select what character you're trying to level up, and you can choose a goal. So it's like, say you have Kane, for example. You want to get him to a certain HP threshold, or you want to get him to a certain base agility, or you want to get him to a certain level. You can specify any of those things. You can write down what level he's currently at. If you don't know what level he's currently at because you've already started the D machine fight and you can't access your menu, then you can write how much HP he has because you can see that in the battle. And then from writing down the HP, it'll actually guess what level he's at. And it does factor into account if you've used AU apples and AG apples or not. I did write an algorithm for that, which I'm really proud of.
That's really crazy. Yeah, exactly. It will take the HP, and if it is like a number that doesn't match the level it should be at, it will try to factor in how many apples you've used on him. That's really impressive. I really like that.
Thank you. It actually first it asks you if you know how much HP you've given him from apples, and if you do, then you can input it, and then it'll know for sure what level he's at. Sure. But if you forgot, then it'll try and figure it out. It'll assume like as few multiples of 50 as possible until it hits like an actual threshold that's within an HP range for any given level, and then it'll stop there and assume he's at that level. So it's just like, because if you're like in that part of the game, you probably don't have that many apples just because there's better things to spend your money on.
Exactly.
But if you find one or two here and there, then you're going to use them. So it'll tell you 3 things. It'll tell you, you can also check off if you have 10 key items using the X2 flag, or if you're on the X0 flag and your EXP gets divided through your whole party, or if you are on, I think, X2/X1. I don't remember the exact settings, so I don't have my tracker open right now.
Yeah.
And your person is like 10 levels below everyone else, or 5 levels below everyone else.
Sure. Yeah.
Then, because that's an extra multiplier for how much XP they need
to bring them back. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll just take that multiplier into account as well, and it'll tell you how many Dragon Egg Sirens in the Underworld you would need to get to your desired goal. It'll also tell you how many D Machines and or life glitches in the D Machine fight you need to do. And it'll also tell you if your goal is attainable to do on trapdoors in the sealed cave.
Okay, yeah.
And if you are trying to level up one of your mages instead, like Rosa, Iridia, Palimporum, you also have the option of how long until they get nuke, how long until they get quake, how long until they get life 2, that kind of stuff. Because those are at a set level, but then you also have to supply whether or not using the J flag, because that can change the level that you learn some spells.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's just like that kind of stuff. It's just a very simple grind calculator. Just check off a bunch of boxes, write down your character, input your HP or your level, and it'll tell you what you got to do. I thought especially the trapdoors, because like I've seen instances before where you don't have sirens, you know, the darkness crystal, and you want to get to a certain level and hope it's enough for zero miss, and you just go to the steel cave, and it turns out the 15 trapdoors there was not enough to get you nuke, and it was a big waste of time because you just get something useless there, like the package when you already have 5 characters on a C3 seed. Just that kind of shit, you know? This is a good piece of information. No, can I do this with trapdoors? It's like, yes, you can, but only if you make the trapdoor summon, or just, yes, you can flat, or no, you cannot do this. It's impossible, even if you summon the yellow D on all the trapdoors.
Yeah, exactly. And at least it's good to know, so you might not want to try it if it's just impossible, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
You'll go somewhere else, do something else. Yeah, that's cool.
I just thought, somebody, actually, it was Invenerable who asked me to make this, and I was like, actually, you know what? I've kind of needed that in my D machine grinds as well, so I think I will make this.
And that's kind of crazy, all the apps and calculators and everything. And there was tools before, but that's just crazy how Free Enterprise just reignited everybody's passion for the game. And just, like I said, how many tools are being made, like all the text about what you can do at what level, and all just the optimization to survive a nerfed Big Bang and everything, like the minimalistic.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't made from the Final Fantasy IV speedrunners, but it's just in such a different way now, and you might even get a party or a setup that could beat Zero Miss at even lower level than the speedrun does, and that's just crazy. It's really fun to see evolve.
It is. I actually think that, like, out of all the FFs I've played, which admittedly isn't many, I think FF4 is like super interesting, and Free Enterprise has kind of exposed me to that. It's like, oh, I didn't know this had this property. Oh, I didn't know that you could do that on that enemy. Oh, it's like, what the crap? I didn't even know that move did that. Or, oh, that's what this spell does. Like, that kind of stuff. And, or like learning about agility anchoring. I never would have thought about that in the vanilla game. Learning about nerfing Zero Miss's Big Bang with a spell and getting them to cast Nuke on you. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Using a cursed ring on Tellah so everyone else in your party is faster. That's cool.
That is so cool. Exactly. I think in a speedrun now they use like, I cannot remember, I think it's a dwarf axe or something like this to slow down Cecil so that the rest of the party is faster, and it makes such a difference that like it's like a 5-minute difference at the end of the game, which is huge.
Wow, I have heard of that, but like I'm not good enough at the game to think of things like that. I'm honestly terrible at Free Enterprise.
No, but it was discovered like later on. It might not have been a new trick now, but it was discovered. I was talking with, about that with Rivers McCone, and he told me like we passed like one tile away from the chest, and we just didn't pick it up because it's not necessarily a better weapon than what we had. And then some people, I think it was a Japanese runner, were just tried it out on Cecil to see that the agility anchoring would make his Cecil slower, and when you have Cecil, he is always your anchor, and so it would make such a huge difference in every battle that now it's a mainstay.
It's pretty cool that stuff like that just gets figured out just because so many eyes are on the game now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, okay. For Enterprise Smash, have you got any other hidden talent or community you've helped?
I guess SMRPG would be the other big one.
Sure, of course.
That was actually my first speed game. I picked it up in 2016 at the demands of one of my friends. I say demands in a loving way, but he actually like just discovered my stream. In 2015, I was streaming Mario RPG casual playthrough, except I'd beaten the game so many times I needed something new to do. So I was like, okay, well, how about I do a casual playthrough, but I'm not allowed to grind any levels. I can only fight bosses, and I can't use any equipment.
Okay.
And I had so many people on Twitter tell me it can't be done. So I'm like, are you kidding me? I've done this twice before already successfully, so I will prove to you that it can be done. And so I streamed it once a week, and that was when my good friends Milnium and Suki Gato actually found my stream just by browsing the game directory and just coming to my stream like, what the hell is this? And and because like a lot of times they just go browsing the game directory to look for new people running the game, or at least they did back then. And Mill befriended me after that, and he said to me like, you should really try speedrunning the game. And I was like, I don't know, I don't think I'd ever be any good at it. Like I like playing the game casually, but I don't think I'd be any good at the speedrun. And after a bit of back and forth, I decided, okay, you know what? Here's my New Year's resolution for 2016. I'll learn the speedrun and I'll do it once. And I did it. My first run was in May 2016. It was 5:07, and it was awful. But
was it fun though?
Oh, it was plenty of fun. I had a blast because it was the 20th anniversary, so I was in a call with like 30 people. A lot of people who I'd only like ever watched on Twitch before. Like I Ate Your Pie was in there. All the guys that came into my chat to help me were there. Like they were running in the race. Like Alanim was there. It was great, and then I just kept playing it more and more, and then I started looking around at what kind of resources were available for learning the game at the time, because at the time there wasn't many. When I started learning, there was just a paste bin.
Oh, damn, and, okay,
yeah, so like I learned from the paste bin, it was no problem, but at around that time was when my good friend Lackattack24, he started the SMRPG speedrun wiki, and it was a work in progress for the community.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so they were just kind of like in the process of doing write-ups for areas, but it was like a back burner project because everyone in that community is like so busy with stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like brand new with nothing better to do, so I created a map of Booster Tower, the room where the fireball spawns appear.
Sure.
And I created a map of what spaces in the room are safe to step on and which ones are not.
Oh, nice.
And I messaged him and I was like, hey, I don't know if this is like actually useful for anyone who's good at the game, but I made this if you think it would be good for the wiki. And he's like, oh, this is cool, thanks. And it got put in the wiki. And I made something else too. I think it was a minecart map.
Okay, yeah.
And then after a while, he gave me wiki access, which was cool because like I was garbage at the game and I was allowed to edit the wiki. Like I didn't even have like a sub 4 yet, I don't think.
Okay.
So that I actually went and I wrote out like detailed stuff on the wiki, just like fleshing out all the sections of the paste bin like in great detail, like writing up charts for menus to just kind of have it in a easy to read format.
Nice.
And eventually I got to the point of like I looked at the time world record video and I made clips of movement through each of the different areas and I put those in the wiki as well just to kind of understand that. And then the game is like forever being rerouted and optimized. So one of the things that I saw in the to-do list on the wiki was a damage calculator. It was about halfway done in Google Sheets, I think, or maybe it was an Excel doc. I can't remember, but it was a spreadsheet. And I think at the time it was just working for physical attacks, and it was in the to-do list. So I asked around. I was like, "Hey, is anybody else working on this? Because if not, I'd like to give it a shot." so there's like, "Hey, go for it." And then so I built a damage calculator in JavaScript, pretty much. That it'll work for any character, any level, any equip, any spell, any attack, and it also works for enemies attacking you.
Okay, yeah.
It also like calculates your speed and everything. It's just like a stat presenter, and it'll tell you how much damage you give or take from whatever is input. Because SMRPG basically has static damage for everything except weapon attacks.
Okay, yeah.
It's the formulas are pretty easy, but the hard part was like figuring out how the hell the rounding in that game works. It is nonsense, but we got it to work.
Nice. When you attack in Super Mario RPGs, like if you have a weapon, there's two types of attack: untimed and timed. For defense, is it different? Because I think there's like more than two possibilities. Right?
I think you're thinking special attacks.
Oh, maybe.
Special attacks are all unique in that each of them kind of has its own timing window and timing tiers. Like all of Geno's moves have 5 tiers of timed hits.
Okay, yeah.
Some of Mallow's only have 2.
Okay.
Whereas a physical attack has 3 and a defense has 3.
Okay, it's 3, all right.
But what's different about them is that the window for a timed hit attack is greater than the window for a timed hit defense. It's 7 frames versus 5 frames. But the window on either side of that frame that where you can get like half time is 8 frames on either side in both circumstances, I think, with a few exceptions. There are some weapons that have a 2, 7, 8 frame window chain.
Okay.
But defending is usually, I think, 858, if I'm not mistaken. I should really know this because I programmed it, but I programmed it it was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's all right.
But the guys working on the route, like Claude, are very happy that I made that because it has saved them hours and hours of work.
Exactly,
So a lot of cool strats have been found since then, and I'm just like, I don't have anything to do with the routing, but I'm glad that something I made because I was bored is helping you guys.
Yeah, but it's super important too. I was talking about that with Yagamoth and other runners, of course, but especially with him, where he do really like, as much as he likes running, he really like working in the dark and just grinding a section or just trying to hunt for glitches or anything. And he really wanted to say how much he liked and loved the people who do that. And even though you are on the forefront of the camera too, it's really nice to see that people are ready to put the time and the energy and the effort into making the tools, making the, like you said, just making a damage calculator, like making the wiki just easier to read. Even that, this can be really important, and it's nice to see there are people that are ready to do that.
I also made an Android app that lets you learn the Japanese stuff in the speedrun, because Japanese is 10 minutes faster.
Yeah, okay,
And
yeah.
I built an app that has like flashcards for item names. I built like the Dr. Topper quiz thing that was based on Curlius had a web one. I just made it in app form pretty much.
Cool.
But I also had one where you can practice like the ball solitaire game just by dragging and dropping the cannonballs on your phone.
That's so cool.
And if you don't know it yet, it'll show you the optimal pattern by turning on hints. It's like
Cool.
super bare bones, but I've heard a lot of good feedback from people that say they learned a ton from it. So I'm happy that it's been helping out the new runners. I didn't even I just built it for myself to practice on the subway when I go to work because I don't have any reception on the ground and it's not like I can just go online and practice it. So I just made an app for my phone that I could practice it with because like I already program for a living. I can do it in my spare time if I want. It's like whatever. And then I was showing it on my stream. I was just like, hey, look at this cool thing that I made for my commute. And then like my best friend was in the chat and well, he wasn't my best friend at the time, but he is now. And he was like, help me learn the game. He's like, have you put this on the wiki? I'm like, no, do you think I should? He's like, yes. Like,
kinda, yeah.
This is good. I'm like, well, if you really think so, but I mean, it's not done or anything. He's like, okay, yeah, I mean, like, when it's done, like, this is really good.
You've talked about it a little, so maybe we could talk a little bit about that. So you program for a living, right?
Oh, yeah. That's been my job for like 4 years.
All right. I guess you have studied to do that. Was it your first idea when you were growing up?
I actually didn't go to school for it, like at all.
Okay, sure.
It's kind of funny. I just like when I was 13, I went on IRC chat rooms a lot. I still do. Like I'm still very much an IRC kid. Like you can't teach an old dog new tricks kind of thing.
Okay.
But when I was like 13 years old and everyone was like making IRC bots and stuff. And I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. I want to try it. So I learned how to program MIRC script. Sure. I do not recommend that to anybody. If you're gonna learn how to program, do not make MIRC script your first language. You'll learn like the worst habits ever, and that's why I'm a spaghetti coder. I'm 100% a spaghetti coder. I never learned good form. I learned best practice by trial and error when I code something that takes fucking forever to execute, and I'm like, oh, there's got to be a better way to do this. I don't remember what big O notation means. I'm like a nightmare to work with as a programmer, but like my shit works.
yeah, that's cool.
and that's why I have the job that I have. But it was never like what I thought I would do for a living. It was just something that I kind of did for fun.
Okay.
I took a couple of introductory classes in high school just because I thought it was cool, and I thought I might like to do it for a living. But then in grade 12, I was like, actually, I don't think I'm good enough at this to do it for a living. I think I'll try something else. So I went to school for industrial engineering,
cool.
Which is like, my specialty was in interface design. So like designing layouts of control panels, designing like navigation on apps, like wayfinding in buildings, signage on streets, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just like taking aspects of cognitive psychology and like applying it to like designing stuff that's easy to use. Like you never notice when people make something easy to use, but when they haven't done it, you really notice it.
Oh, I know very well what you're talking about. I have actually a friend who studied the same thing you did, and we actually work for the same company, and the person who's designing our UI are, can I say terrible? like you would use the user interface, and then at some point let's say the F5 button is the yes button. Like if you have to choose yes or no, F5 let's say is yes. But in other instances, F5 do something else. Like there's just no consistency. If you're designing a UI,
that's awful.
Yeah, exactly. If you design a UI, you want to make sure that if that button is done for yes or no questions, it's only done for that. So like the person who's using it, it becomes a second nature, right? But if in other parts it's trigger a search, that won't work.
Yeah, definitely.
He's talked to me about that, and it's crazy that you went to school trying to learn that, because we've been talking about that a lot, user interface design, and Yeah, I would have liked to have him design the UI instead of the person who did it, which I don't know who is,
Yeah.
but damn, that's hard to work with sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like if you don't
Yeah,
have good UI design, like the whole thing just kind of falls apart. If something needs to be incorporated like from the very start of a project's lifestyle,
exactly. Yeah,
and too many like projects bring the UI in way later when it's like, okay, if I want to make this work properly, then you have to like change all the shit that you've already done.
yeah,
It's like, no,
exactly.
just bring us in super early. I say us, I'm not a UI designer anymore. That was my I actually tried to specialize in university. I tried to specialize in operations research, like
Okay,
optimization math and stuff, but I couldn't find any internships in it. So I found an internship as like a youth safety engineer in a hospital. So that kind of like made me switch to the UI stuff in my fourth year, and that's what I did after graduating. I was working at a medical company as a UI designer after that, but
very cool.
I got laid off after a year and a half just because the
Oh,
company was like, just because like there wasn't really any more work for me to do. The product was almost done.
oh okay, yeah, I
Um,
get. Makes sense.
so it was like no hard feelings. I had lots of good references there, and the next job I got like right after that was a complete change of pace. I
Okay,
was working on a children's television show about video games.
that's so cool.
It was like a
Okay,
very, very different industry. I was working as a researcher on a TV show that used to be on Disney XD that was about three kids who were making a YouTube channel. So all like the entire like all the plots of the episodes were just like around their adventures and stuff, but like it was all incorporated into video games. Like
okay.
there'd be segments like one of the three kids like goes to visit one of the players on the Toronto Blue Jays to get a game review of the new MLB game that
MLB,
just
yeah.
came out. Like it was all about video games, but they incorporated like skits into things surrounding the games, and it was really cute. I had a lot of fun working on it.
Had to be the
But
blast.
it was awesome. And on my first day of the job, I mentioned that I had a pro Smash player staying at my house that weekend because I did, like, because I've been in Smash for so long. Like, a lot of the
Yeah.
people who are super famous now were my friends back in the day when, like, nobody was famous. So one of my good buddy, Nakat, like, he's super popular Smash player, and like at the time he was really blowing up, and he was just so happening to stay at my house that weekend for a tournament, and so we brought him into the studio, and he became a regular on the show after that because they loved him.
That's so cool. Oh yeah. I would
And
have
I
liked
think
to watch the show. Do you want to say how it was called?
oh yeah, it was called Gaming Show in My Parents' Garage.
Okay, cool.
And
Can I find that somewhere?
I honestly don't know. This was
Sure.
2014, so I don't know like if the episodes are out anywhere or anything like that, but it was really fun to work on. I was mostly helping with the YouTube content. Like I wasn't involved too much like in the television show. Some of the stuff I did help with the show like a little bit, but I was more helping with production of like the
Sure.
YouTube side. So it's like it's a TV show about three kids making a YouTube channel. So for the interactivity, the YouTube channel actually exists,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
it has different content from the TV show. And like the kids had a Minecraft server where they'd go on and play with like fans of the show, and it was really cool.
That's so
Um,
nice.
but that was like a super short gig. I was only there for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that was like when I got my current job. I just really needed a job because my contract was ending, and
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna apply to literally everything, even if I'm not qualified at all. And I was like, okay, if I have done something that looks even remotely similar to what I'm looking at, even if it wasn't at a previous employment place, I'm still going to apply. So I applied to a ton of programming jobs because I did it as a hobby since I was 13 years old. And actually, my thesis project in engineering was about uh, it was about evaluating the ease of use of a mobile app that's
Okay.
for like on tablets to be used in hospitals on patients that are suffering dementia.
Okay.
No, not dementia, delirium,
Delirium. Okay.
and using this app can help figure out what their risk of developing dementia after surgery or operation is. So that way, if they can diagnose it early on, then the doctors can kind of give them a treatment plan that can prevent that. Because
Cool.
it was going really underdiagnosed in hospitals, and this was just kind of a tool that would help them kind of like nip it in the bud and make it not happen. So my thesis was to evaluate how easy to use it was, but the problem is that the app didn't actually exist yet, so I had to make it. And then I
Okay.
had
Yeah.
to evaluate it. So I learned how to program apps, and I did it for my thesis, and then I did the evaluation, and then I wrote the 90-page paper, and I was good to graduate. But like, because I could say, hey, I programmed this thing for my thesis, and then
Evaluated, yeah.
Yeah, because I could code. Like, coding is a good skill to have as a UI designer. So when I was a UI designer, I was writing like little things here and there in JavaScript. I wasn't great at it, but then later, like the further I got in my job, like the development team was super understaffed, and
okay.
There were times when like I would open a ticket for something UI based, and it would be something that was like a really simple fix that I knew they didn't have time for, and it was on the Java side, which meant I couldn't fix it with just CSS or JavaScript. And I'm just like, I wrote in Java for like 6 years. I know I can fix this. I'm just gonna fix it myself. So I did it because I don't want to assign them a ticket that like when they're already like working 24-hour days. I don't want to give them like this extra thing to do that I could just literally sit there and do myself because I'm not working on anything else at the moment. So when I talk about all that stuff in my an interview I got for a developer job, they gave me the job, and I've been there for 4 years, and I've learned like so much more about programming since then. I'm less of a spaghetti. I'm still a spaghetti coder, but I'm less of a spaghetti coder now. Nice. And that's what really matters in the end, I guess. But like, oh my god, please do not inspect source on any of the calculators I made. It is a fucking mess. Well, it's not actually that bad, but like my variable names don't make any sense. My indentation makes no sense. My spacing of things like. My order of functions makes no sense. My variable declarations are all over the place. It's like I need to learn how to code like in a neater way. But I get an idea, and then I have to write it down as fast as possible before I forget what my idea was, and that's why my code looks like frickin' spaghetti factory.
But it works.
It works,
like you said, it works.
It works. It's just don't read it if you value your sanity. That's something I definitely have to improve on, but day by day, one thing at a time.
Exactly, you'll get there. That's cool. All right. So speedrunning, you said that it was actually a friend of yours, a very good friend, that asked you to start speedrunning. And you've done it and you've liked it. The community thing was started when the people came in to see your stream, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It was those two guys that found my stream and suggested I do the speed run because they thought I could do it just because I knew enough about the game. And exactly. So I did it, and after I did it, like I started running the game, I started talking to more people that ran the game and making friends there. And I started doing that in other communities as well. Like I ran Super Mario Land 2 for Game Boy for a while, and one of my closest friends actually I met through that game.
Nice.
I ran Earthbound for a bit, and like I love the Earthbound community. It's like I ran like a category that nobody runs. It's like a glitch category that was made a couple years ago, and I ran it for a bit. I was bar none the worst runner of that category. I'm still dead last on that leaderboard.
Aww.
That doesn't matter. I went to RPG Limit Break 2017 not knowing anybody, and like the Earthbound community, they're like, "Oh, that's Pitch. She runs Pajama." They just like adopted me, and I was theirs for the week.
That is so cool.
I stayed in their hotel rooms and everything. Like I had a queen bed to myself in one of Ori's rooms. I just hung out with Earthbound people for the whole week, and it was awesome. Like they're just wonderful people, and like a lot of them are really good friends of mine, and they all like watched my SMRPG run, and it was just such a good feeling. Like half these guys I had literally just met, and they were just like the most supportive people ever. And like Angie Una, bless her heart, after my run was done, she's like, "Pidge, can I take you out to dinner after that run?" I'm like, I love you. Let's go out for dinner. Like,
everybody who's offered me food is my friend. There's no denying that.
Well, she's wonderful. She's a really good friend of mine. But it's just like the Earthbound community, I just love them so much. They're just like the nicest people, and I really felt that week. It's just like I'm a terrible runner of this game, and like I only run one like glitch category that like 12 people run, and y'all are treating me like your family.
Yeah. And that's really interesting because you're like the third or the fourth one to talk about this Earthbound community on the show, and this is the only thing I've heard about them. I don't know any of the Earthbound community. I've seen them in marathons, and I really enjoyed their energy and their, like you said, their inclusiveness. but I don't know any of them. But the only thing I hear about this community is other love. Like, this is, I have to invite one to the show at some points. Like, I have to, or
yes,
a few of
for
them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, they're such great people. It's like you don't even have to run the game. If you just like show up in one of their streams one time and you meet them at a marathon, you're like, oh yeah, I know you, and then like they will adopt you for the entire week you're there. It doesn't
cool.
matter. They accept everybody. They're just super nice, like super inclusive, and
yeah.
And that was really good for me that week, because I'm one of those people, like when I get into a new community, I try really, really hard to do good things to that community to prove that like I'm not just a shitter. Like I have kind of a weird sense of humor, so I can get like super over the top, like annoying when I first get into a community. Just like I don't know, man. I don't act like it when I'm speaking in interviews and stuff, but oh my god, man, if you see my Discord posts, I am like top fucking bullshit shitter everywhere I go. And so I work really hard to make things that the community can use, or do things that are good for them, to like justify my existence in that community. So it's like, hey, y'all are putting up with my bullshit and I appreciate that, so here's what I'm giving back to you. And I don't know if that's just like an affect of the fact, like I just get kind of super anxious when I meet new people, so like my sense of humor kind of goes into overdrive. But the problem is that my sense of humor is really fucking stupid.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like, hey, yeah, I might be an idiot, but I can also do really cool things.
That's what you get for dealing with me, but at least you're getting something back. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, I do have some kind of a stupid sense of humor. I come from French Canada, so I do speak French first and then English second. But the thing that I like to do the best is to make puns that you have to be bilingual to understand. And
okay.
Those are like the cringiest puns that you can ever get. If like just the premise that you have to know two languages just to get it, and it's not funnier, it's just stupider. But I like that. Oh, I just love it. And yeah, I don't want people to laugh at them. It's okay if they do, but if they cringe, this is my payout. That's what I want. And the cringier it gets, the happier I am.
Well, G-Virus has couched for a lot of my runs, so I'm very familiar with the puns.
Yes! We've talked about that offline. It was so funny. Yeah, he did a few I really enjoyed, yeah.
If you ever see like any of my runs at No Reset, you can just see my facial expression while there's just like this onslaught of puns happening on commentary. I think probably the funniest thing in that run was when a donation got read during the 100 super jumps.
Oh no! No!
I still did it.
Yeah! Go girl!
I've said that as a joke before. Like I'm just like, okay, well I'm about to do 100 super jumps, and that's like a minute and a half of no action. So that was a really good time for donation.
To read donation, yeah.
I'm usually just kidding, because like anyone who knows the speed run like would laugh at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very.
It took you to your words, yeah. Oh, and it was Punzevy, right?
It was what?
It was Punzevy? The actual...
I don't remember, because I was doing super jumps.
Yeah, where you tried to keep concentrate. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, because some of these puns donation that get read are really funny. Some makes really long ones with like the name of the places or the name of the characters in the game. I really enjoy those moments, and it can take you minds off the game when you're playing it. It's just crazy, yeah. But I like those. Okay. You've done a few marathons, but what I've learned, like G-Virus told me about that, you actually like to create categories too, just for fun, right?
Oh yeah, that's like my ongoing thing with No Reset Marathon.
Yeah.
I ran any percent SMRPG seriously up until around June of last year, I think.
Okay.
So I ran that in... I lost count of how many marathons I ran it in. It was a lot.
Okay.
The biggest one was probably RPG Limit Break 2017. That was cool because that game has never been an RPG Limit Break before, so I was glad to be the one that could bring it to over there. But I got it in. I ran it at No Reset in February 2018, and I think my run raised $1,300 out of like the $3,600 that got raised over the course of the weekend. So it was crazy, especially because it was in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of it came from my good friend Something Fawful, who donated like $500. Okay, no, sorry, he donated $420.69, and then
Of course.
he donated a bunch of like $69, $4.20 like on top of that, like just repeat donations that were all meme numbers. In fact, I'm pretty sure that like every single donation that came in during that run was a meme number.
Had to.
It was great.
Nice.
That's just how my runs go. It's like as soon as my SMRPG run starts, just like all the friggin' meme number donations are gonna start coming, and it's like, oh yeah, a $4.20 donation like 6 times in a row. It was pretty great. So I ran any percent. Then later that year, I ran Beat Cool X RTA, which is a category where you start a new file and then go beat the hardest boss in the game, Monster Town. So it's just kind of cool, like getting there as fast as possible. You can actually beat him at level 11 with super jumps, but the final boss battle is like super super tight if you like have a trouble super jumping floating enemies, which like everybody in the world has problems doing that.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
remembered that. Jumping the crystal and the floating bus, yeah. That was a problem.
yeah, it was that's about like a 2 hour run. I think I actually PB'd that run. Then after that I submitted the 100% run, most of the stuff, which my friend Lack Attack 24, who I mentioned earlier, he actually routed that category and ran it, and then we worked together on like optimizing it, and I ran it. I got super serious about it for a while,
Cool.
and I brought my time down to 4 hours and 24 minutes, which was like a 35-minute improvement over before I started like helping with the routing, I think.
Wow.
So it's like the run is actually really cool. So I submitted, that's actually my favorite category. So I submitted that to No Reset, and I got an overnight shift, which was fun. Like it was a 5 hour speed run overnight. Like that's the party run. That's when everyone's just like there to have a good time. It doesn't matter what
Exactly.
happens in the speed run. So then after that was when the SNES Classic came out.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so the No Reset crew wanted to have a SNES Classic speedrun marathon where they just took turns speedrunning all the games on SNES Classic until they had all been beaten.
Yeah.
And they needed an SMRPG runner, and I couldn't afford to go. I couldn't afford the bus ticket at the time. But the No Reset guys were really, really nice and generous, and they paid for my bus ticket. And the whole
Wow.
thing was at G Virus's house, so I didn't have to pay for accommodations either. It was I love them forever because that was really nice of them to do.
Yeah.
Um, so at the start of my run, I realized there was too much input lag. There was too much latency on the TV, and I wouldn't
Okay.
be able to super jump. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
realized this 5 minutes into the run, when it already started, that I would not be able to super jump. So what I did was someone let me borrow their laptop. I went to the wiki, smrpgspeedruns.com, and I pulled up the no supersuit route,
okay.
which I had never so much as even looked at or watched in my entire life.
Yeah.
I pulled up the documents for it, and I did a blind run right then and there, and it was a little just over 4 hours.
Oh wow, that's still not bad.
It was painful,
Yeah,
but
sure.
it was done. So I ran, by that point I ran any percent beat Cool X RTA, most of the stuff, and any percent no supersuit. Well, there's nothing else really for me to run, because like, okay, any percent in beat Cool X and low level are the only categories on speedrun.com. Most of the stuff is not, because we want it to remain a for fun category.
Sure.
But low level is, don't run low level. World record is 8 hours.
Oh damn. Okay, yeah, it's not even close.
That's the one where you have to gamble away your EXP. So the
Okay.
best time on the leaderboard is 8 hours, and the worst time on the leaderboard is 18 hours. And both of those times are held by guys who have both been top 10 in any percent. So they are good runners of the game. That is just how fucking crazy the RNG is in low level, and that's why I
Wow.
will not run it in a marathon,
Okay.
because it's not marathon safe.
Yeah,
Unless
sure.
it's really, really long-a-thon, which Emily Brooks ran it for. But for No Reset, which is over the course of a weekend, I am not submitting that.
Yeah, you're gonna take the whole weekend.
Yeah, so I was like, oh crap. Well, it's been my tradition to run SMRPG at every single one of these, so now I need to come up with something else to run. So I did most of the stuff in February, and I was like, what am I going to do for next No Reset that's in September? I don't have any more categories to do. So that's why my friend Countdown, I think, had said one time that an all bosses run would be cool, but no one had really routed it anymore. It was just kind of like a neat little idea that he had.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, since I don't have any other ideas, I think I will route that. So I did. I did one run of it. I had no VOD. I submitted it to No Reset. It got in. So I realized a week before the marathon was a week away, and I didn't know my own speed run, so I had to practice it a bit.
Sure.
So now I got to come up with another category for them for landing TS in February. But in
Yes.
the meantime, No Reset Marathon is coming to Toronto in November, to which
Yeah.
I've submitted SMRPG Randomizer.
Oh.
I've been playing that with my best friend a little bit, and I think I'm decent enough at the game that I can get a good time in a randomizer. I just never take it seriously. But for a marathon, I would take it seriously.
What's randomized in the game?
Everything.
So equipment you get, item drops, shops, bosses?
I'm just gonna pull up the list.
I've never seen a randomizer for Mario RPGs.
Character stats.
Sure.
What enemies drop, enemy formations and random battles, the stats of the monsters, what's in the shops, including the frog coin shops. So sometimes you get a seed where pick me up is a frog coin item.
Oh no.
Equipment stats and who can wear the equipment.
Sure.
So you might get like Fire Pants gives you a billion defense and also gives you a Geno boost and is immune to Scarecrow or something.
Sure, okay, yeah.
Equipment buffs, character spell stats, like how much FP it costs, what the attack power is and the hit rate, your character spell list. So you might, the character spell list is the best thing ever because it makes graphical glitches all over the place. If anyone uses Bowser Crush who is not named Bowser, your screen will shit itself, and it's awesome because that's like the best spell in the game. When I get that spell, I spam the shit out of it, and my SD2 SNES is sitting there like, please kill me. Oh, and also the order in which the characters join your party. So you go to Mushroom Kingdom and you talk to Mallow, and you do the cutscene, and then you open up your menu, and there's Bowser.
That is cool, though. That's a good idea. And you said the enemy formation can be shuffled in, but could you get endgame monsters in the beginning?
Yes, I have seen that happen before.
Okay, yeah, so that's kind of a harsher game than the original one.
It can be pretty harsh.
Yeah.
Another thing that's cool about the randomizer is that they made two very large differences to the base ROM. Actually, there's a couple of differences, but these are the two biggest ones. Number one, most of the cutscenes have been removed.
Sure, makes sense.
Number two, if you are going through your equip menu or through a shop and you hover over an equip, all of the equip descriptions have been changed to show exactly what they do.
Oh, that's good. That's cool.
So we spent like a week in the randomizer channel, like me and my best friend and a couple other guys that play the rando, designing icons for that, and also for the psychopath skill. The psychopath skill will tell you like stat stuff about the enemy,
sure,
like what they're immune to and that kind of thing. So we were coming up with symbols, coming up with a way to compress all the data into as small a message as possible. And it's really good. It works like super well. You can see like the attack, special defense, and defense boost. Which of the stats gets like an added Geno boost, what it's immune to, and which elements it nullifies or cuts in half.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
And also, like, your speed increases from it. So it's like, you look at it and it will tell you exactly what it does. So that cut our shop time out by like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Because generally you had to buy the item before seeing what it does. So it had a brief description, but you wouldn't see the numbers, would you? Oh, you would, though.
In the original game, it had descriptions which often did not really tell you anything. So
exactly.
So now that it's randomized, it's especially not going to tell you anything. So we just changed it to make it say exactly what it does.
Clearer, Oh, that's really cool. I really like that.
And that's also really good because in the frog coin shop you might find the Jinx belt in there for 36 frog coins when you're right at the start of the game, and you're like, okay, do I want to go jump on 36 wigglers just to find out that it gives like a stat underflow and gives me negative SP def? I don't know. Well, how about I just like scroll down the list to it and it'll tell me right up front if it's worth it or not before I have to go jump on 36
do the regulars,
wigglers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm submitting that to No Reset Toronto, and if they have a 5-hour time slot, well, actually, it's more like 4 hours, but I'm just being generous in case I get a really shit seed. Then I'll do
Sure.
it there.
Oh, I can't wait to see that though.
If it doesn't get in, then I'll submit it to LAN ETS.
Cool, cool. Um, okay, so we know a little bit more about you now, but what's in it in your future? What are you aiming to do? You seem like a really busy girl, but what do you want to do in the future?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much. I really just kind of fly by the seat of my pants and do whatever catches my attention at the time. That's how I live my life. My only real stability is I have an apartment and I have a job.
Yeah, okay.
The rest of that is all up in the air. Whatever I feel like doing on any given day is what I do.
Okay.
I have not actually done any speedruns for a while because I've been busy trying to learn multiple languages and programming random shit and playing FF4 Free Enterprise and
it takes up a lot of time.
playing Lufia 2 and FF9. Like I haven't been streaming much because I just want to play games casually and play FF4 Free Enterprise, and both of those things I find really frustrating to stream. Because I don't enjoy streaming things casually because the minute somebody doesn't think and spoil something, it's ruined for me.
Yeah.
So I just don't do it. And FF4 Free Enterprise, I'm trying to think really hard about what I'm doing, and I can't do that and read chat at the same time. It's too hard.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So now when I'm playing a game casually, what I do is I just call my best friend on Discord and screen share my game feed to him, and that's my equivalent of streaming right now.
I understand that. I do have friends that I've talked about that on the show before, but you might not know. I come from a small island, and some of my friends are still there, but I don't live there anymore. And so, because, like, I really liked the idea of couch co-op or just watching someone play a game but being in the same room as they are. And it's funny because I do exactly the same with them. Like, they would just play a game and I just want to chat, and then they would just screen share with me, or I would screen share with them. And we would just talk about the game that's happening on screen, but also just about our lives, about things that friends talk about. And the game is just being there, and that's sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not even. We're just having a lot of fun. Yeah, I like that too.
It's really fun. It's just like being in the same room as the person. Like when you're really close to someone like that, then it's just like second nature. It's just we're just hanging out. He doesn't even have to be looking at my fucking game feed, but the moment I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is his enemy? Like he'll tell me, yeah, you might want to save, like that kind of stuff.
Exactly, yeah, because it the older I get, the harder it is to meet with everybody. Even some people that lives like in the same city, but maybe just far in the same city. I cannot see them like every evening or anything, but having this possibility is really fun, and I really sometimes prefer that. I no, it's not true. I do prefer to see people face to face, but it's so easier. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, like me and my friend don't even live in the same country, so this is like the only thing we can do.
Exactly. That's interesting. It's just funny that you say that, considering that's what I do too, and it's probably a lot of viewers who do the same. I can't believe that we're the only two, or maybe we are.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the next section. Then you know what I do in the show here, the shout out thing, where you would shout out someone, but also, and the more important thing, is that the person you shout out will actually get an invitation to this show. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. I'm gonna shout out my friend Void.
Okay.
He is a fantastic speedrunner of multiple games. He's held several Donkey Kong Country Series world records many, many, many times.
Okay.
Probably what he's best known for is DKC2, but he's like incredibly good at the entire series. He's also good at Yoshi's Island, SMRPG. Ooh. He ran Link to the Past for a while. I think he ran a Mega Man game once. I don't know. Whatever he's streaming is fun to watch because like he's a super cool dude. He's like everything I wish I was as a streamer. He's actually good at video games, and his chat is really fun to be in because he's just like a chill dude that just like he's just like really chill and is like really fun to interact with. And all I do in his chat is shitpost, and like I'm constantly spamming Blunt Bunny's knob emote in Void's chat like all the fucking time. Like that's I don't even say hello anymore. I just go on and I write the stupid knob.
That's all right.
And like every day's like the same thing. It's like, what's up, Pidge? The usual, lurking, working, and jerking. And I'll start screaming about how I made my dinner too spicy, and I don't know. I'm getting way off track. The point is, like, Void's a cool dude, and
Yeah.
if he doesn't want to do it, I'll recommend someone else. But like, he's super chill, really interesting guy. He's been like on the TV show they had in the Netherlands about speedrunning for his DKC2 stuff, and he's just like really fun to hang out with. We're actually rooming together at AGDQ with two of our other buddies from the Rolling Deep crew.
Nice.
Shout out to the Rolling Deep crew. Yeah, that's I don't know. He's a really good friend of mine. I'd definitely shout him out.
Okay, excellent. I'll try to reach out to him and see if he would be interested to be on the show. I would really like to know more about the dude. He seems like a very fun person.
Oh yeah, he's sick, man. I met him in person for the first time at AGDQ 17.
Okay,
and then he came to one of the no reset marathons I went to, like, just to hang out and like grab poutines and stuff. Yeah, super chill guy. Really fun hanging with.
Excellent. I'll try to reach out to him. Next up, we'll do the second part where we will try to do a little trick in Super Mario RPGs. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I thought of two tricks because SMRPG's hardest thing. Okay, I have a lot of really bad opinions about SMRPG.
Okay.
But one of my worst opinions about the game is that, like, super jumps are not the hardest thing to do. But
okay.
Once I explain that, it kind of makes sense. Like, they're the hardest thing to learn, but not the hardest thing to execute.
Okay.
In my opinion, the hardest thing to execute is 3 hours of perfect timed hits.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But I can't teach you 3 hours of perfect timed hits. That's just not going to work in a 30-minute time frame.
Yeah.
So there are two other tricks in the game, which are things that you kind of have to get the hang of it first, but once you learn it, it's like riding a bike. Not that I ever learned how to ride a bike, because like, full disclosure, I'm 6'3". I've been 6'3" since I was 12 years old, so I always rode my bike super fast, and I just never learned how to ride them. It's probably the Dutch side of my family where I got the height bomb from, but that's anyone's guess. So anyway, the two tricks in question for this section are going to be at the 15 minutes into the speedrun when you skip the boss of the Mushroom Kingdom. That's called the max skip.
Sure.
That is probably the biggest roadblock for new runners of the game, is learning max skip.
All right.
I actually made a tutorial video about max skip because there are already a billion tutorials on how to do max skip. Okay. So I made a tutorial on how not to do max skip. So my tutorial video shows the most common mistakes in executing max skip that are not really covered when you're learning how to perform the trick positively, but not really recognizing where your pitfalls and your inputs are. Okay. So I made a video explaining every single one of the jumps, what your inputs have to be, why you're getting the failure animations that you're getting, and when exactly your visual cue should be that you should be looking for.
Okay.
And it's some people have told me it's helped them a lot, and that's pretty good. I taught a bunch of people how to do max skip at AGDQ 17.
Okay.
That trick is like super daunting at first, but once you get it, it's like super free. So,
okay, nice.
In case that doesn't take 30 minutes, we can spend the rest of the time learning the skill swap glitch.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've seen that too.
Yeah, the thing that makes you turn into Pink Gino.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I made a perler of the Pink Gino and I brought it to AGDQ 17 with me, and then I ate a sandwich with a fried egg in it, and the egg exploded all over my shirt and all over my perler. And it was right after I had told Eason that he was a nerd for grabbing napkins from the food truck. And he handed me a napkin, and I thanked him.
Yeah. At least he was kind enough to lend you one.
Oh, dude, Eason's great. I love that guy.
All right, so we'll see each other on the second part, where we'll try at least one, and if I'm not too bad, a second trick. Thank you very much for the interview, though, Pidge. It was a blast. I really, really appreciated that.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I tend to ramble on and on, but yeah, that's just my thing.
Oh, no, but that's exactly what I want. I really want to learn more about the person, and I think we did that today, and I really appreciate that.
All right, awesome. I'm glad I did something right.
Thank you guys very much for watching the show. See you on part 2. Have fun.
Thank you.